What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today we finally got the reveal that Halo Combat Evolved, also known as Campaign Evolved, is coming to PlayStation for next year of 25th anniversary for Halo Combat Evolved. Now, to be released is unknown, but I do understand that since it's going on its 25th anniversary next year, I understand it's going to be sometime next fall of 2026, possibly maybe around November. Now, I'm going to discuss something here of what I truly feel about this for the most part, okay? I am very excited for this, but there is a little bit of a concern for this as well, okay? You know, I've mentioned so many things about when it comes to remasters and remakes, specifically remakes, okay? While I do believe that this Halo remake for modern technology that we have today, whether on PC, Xbox, or on PlayStation, I do feel like, I'm going to say this once. Being a Halo fan since from Combat Evolved on the original Xbox was magnificent. It was the pinnacle of gaming of that year when this game came out. I believe it was back in 2001. Absolutely loved it. And, you know, coming off from different other first-person shooters, much like Doom or Quake, but that's besides the point. Now, I'm going to say one thing here, though, too, when it comes to this remake. Not only am I impressed or very excited about this, but like I was saying about with the caveat, with the remake of this game coming to PlayStation for the very first time, like I said again, this is going to be a pivotal moment in gaming history when it comes to having a brand IP, much like Halo coming to a rival platform, which is no longer a rival platform to Xbox. Right? And so I really think, I will say this too, this is an amazing thing, and it's also a mistake at the same time. And with the mistake I will mention here though too, is that I really think that even though that this remake is going to be a pivotal way of bringing an old school IP, bringing it to another modern piece of hardware like PlayStation, is going to bring out a lot more fans alike, new or old, and veterans and newcomers and vice versa as well. But for the most part, now with the mistake I think in this own regard, is that I really think that if they were to really anticipate this a little bit better than from what we already got from today of this reveal, is that I think going with the Master Chief Collection remaster from the Anniversary Edition, rather than from the standalone collection edition of the Master Chief Collection, would have been a much better approach. I'm not saying this from a professional product marketing person, which I'm not. I'm not a professional. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. That's what I believe in. So that's what I think. But again, I really think having a remake from an old school game from 2001, you know, and then directly comparing it to modern day games that we have had through remasters, like System Shock 2 remaster we got earlier this year, or the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remasters that we got last year as well in December for multiple platforms as well. But I'm just trying to reiterate the understanding of when it comes to remakes and remasters, I feel like that remasters are a little bit easier to do because they are able to do more polish, more high polygon counts, HD textures, you know. But again, you know, making a remake when it comes to, like, even the Silent Hill 2 remake that we got last year, which was absolutely phenomenal. But going with Combat Evolved Remake, calling it Campaign Evolved, which sounds really cool, but at the same time, I feel like that this is going to really dwindle in sales in terms of how much Gears of War Reloaded was able to have a potential on PlayStation. While that game did sell pretty well, it didn't sell enough, what I understand as well. And so that is what's concerning about this as well. But another thing I will say, this is one thing I have noticed when I'm comparing it from the remake of Combat Evolved for Halo on PlayStation, and then, you know, I would say Gears of War Reloaded, which is a remaster, right? And so, comparing that from the remake of Halo Combat Evolved, so when you have a big pie and you cut it in half or you cut it into 4 quarters or 8 slices or whatever, okay, and you really had to think, how much did Gears of War Reloaded sell on PlayStation other than Halo not selling on PlayStation, because this game is finally coming to PlayStation for the very first time. Now, when Halo Combat or Evolved comes out, or Campaign Evolved comes out next year in November, possibly, of 2026, how much do you think Combat Evolved or Campaign Evolved will sell more of rather than Gears of War Reloaded? And that's why I was saying you got to have a little bit of that pie chart and really come to a conclusion to where, well, okay, which one do you think is going to sell a lot more? I think personally, while I said before that Gears of War Reloaded on PlayStation did sell pretty well, but it did not sell well enough, okay? Now, while I do believe that there is the majority of gamers out there that have grown up playing more of Gears of War than Halo, that is true. It's the same thing with Halo. It's no different. So what I'm saying is that when Halo comes, which it is, how much do you think you would believe that Halo is going to sell a lot more on PlayStation rather than Gears of War Reloaded? You kind of have to think of it that way, because these games they were the very pinnacle of gaming on Xbox. These games were the brand of Xbox. And so I think when it comes to Halo and Gears of War, it's like, well, which one do you think I would play a lot more? I grew up playing a lot more Halo than I did with Gears, okay? I would say I'm more of a Halo fan than a Gears fan. While playing Gears of War Reloaded on PlayStation for the very first time was a hell of an experience, I loved it. But again, now realizing that Halo is coming to PlayStation, I was asking myself, well, how much more Halo will I play rather than Gears of War? That's where I was saying when it comes to that pie chart in description in a way. And so I'm saying I really think, for the most part, I think Halo is going to sell a lot more on PlayStation rather than it being an Xbox IP and brand. Will sell a lot more copies than that of Gears of War Reloaded on PlayStation. I'm just saying. Or on Xbox. It doesn't matter where it is because it's multi-platform games, right? And so I think when it comes to new era of gaming and where Xbox is going with its multi-platform approach, to me personally, I really think this is a really good move. And so that's what I was saying before, is that there's a lot of things going on within Xbox. Recently with so many things that, with the ABK deal, it's been hurting them quite a bit lately after the fact, after many years of that acquisition. But then it's just like, it's so difficult to really understand that, or not really that difficult to understand that, we all knew that this was going to happen at some point because, like Phil Spencer said, just for games. When he had Pentiment, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and I forgot what the other one was. But, they came to PlayStation, and then PlayStation finally got Indiana Jones and the Great Circle this year for PlayStation 5, which I played all the way through, and it was fucking amazing. I loved it. But that's besides the point. But I think when it comes to tentpole titles, very much so, when it comes to Gears of War and Halo, this is a big deal. But for the most part, I would say a lot of people are disappointed with this as well. But what I'm going to say about this here, though, too, a lot of people don't have control over this. That's one thing I think people really need to understand, is that we have no control of what happens to a company much like Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo of going with a more multi-platform approach. But I'm talking about more so about Xbox than anyone else, because I'm not saying that Xbox is cooked. They're not cooked. They're doing what they have to do in order to maintain that profit back from that ABK deal back in 2023. I believe, or before than that, but that's besides the point. But again, I'm not being an intellectual here. I would say I'm not all that smart, but the fact of the matter is, I have been gaming for more than a decade. And, being that gamer and being a small content creator on a platform like YouTube, it doesn't really take that much difficulty to understand of what's happening into the gaming industry as a whole. Okay. And so now going back to Halo, though, like I said again, this is very exciting for a lot of people. I do believe that this is going to have the potential of a more success rate on another platform, which is PlayStation, rather than Gears of War Reloaded coming to PlayStation in August of this year. But even then, they are both different types of games, and they do have their own different popularity. But it also has to do with the higher fan base. And for what I understand, that Halo has a higher fan base than Gears of War, but that's not always true, though. I do believe that there is a higher fan base when it comes to Gears of War as well. I do believe that. Because again, what we as gamers, we have always come to believe, no matter what games that you play, and no matter what console you play on, whether on PS5, PC, or Xbox, it doesn't matter. Any kind of games you play will always have a higher type of fan base. But it also has to do with a brand IP, much like Halo, much like Gears of War. And it all just comes to making sense of all things. That's what makes it so unique, and that's what makes it so very interesting of how far gaming has come. And so what I will say here in conclusion and in closure here is that I think, other than having my small convictions of this remake for Halo, this is still a good PR marketing move because, we all know when we had those 4 games come to PlayStation a year ago. And so again, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to this type of perspective. I do believe that people have their own perspectives of what they think. It has nothing to do about intelligence or how smart you might be. But anyway, so much further ado, this is Jake from Citizen JV. You guys have a good rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.